just so that we get used to the habit. That's for the next 45 minutes to an hour. If we can keep our phones away and homework also away. If this is the only time you get to do homework, I think you need to see a counselor. But other than that, I hope that we'll have a good time. For many of you, since you were not here last week, we went through in the Gita values, those 6 values we talked about previously, how they operate in one's life. And our guest speaker, His Holiness Romapat Swami, showed us this visual. And this visual is something I will show you throughout the next few weeks that we are going to talk about these values. Okay? When you see this picture, what are some things that come to mind to you? What comes to mind? You were nodding your head. So what comes to mind?
It's like does not look what we want to see. It's like there's more into it.
Okay.
Everything has a deeper meaning.
Excellent. Everything has a deeper meaning. What else? Anything else? What does an iceberg represent?
What it looks from outward, it's not necessarily true from inward.
Okay, what it looks from outside is not necessarily the way it's inside, or said in another way, what you see outside is only a small part of what is actually there within. So when you think of an iceberg, there is a person who, in talking about culture, said that a culture has 3 elements to it. One is called the artifacts. Artifacts are behavior. It's there, so you can read. It's behaviors. It is the dress. It's the symbols. Okay. It's the expression of it that we can see, we can hear, we can touch, taste, smell, etc. Okay. But why one does those things in a culture? For example, many people in India are observing Navratri. It's all over the place. For most people, it's a good time for Dandiya. They may not know what it is all about. But regardless, right? There are some artifacts, but there are some values that drive it. Okay, if you take an organization, let's say Apple or McDonald's or wherever, they have certain behaviors, but those behaviors are driven by certain values. Okay, those are their stated beliefs, their mission statement, etc. But what drives that is something even deeper. Okay, here it's called assumptions. The very, very sacredly held beliefs. Some implicit convictions. Okay. Now, why this is important is many of us in our day-to-day life, we operate here. Everyone does. Nothing special about you guys in IIT or me, or every person operates here. This is what is visible to others, right? How we behave, how we talk, what we say, blah. But what drives that is something here. And this comes from our experiences in life, our education, what our family gives us, what our friends give us, the books we have read, the teachers we have met, right? And as we have become young adults, the certain driving factors, certain ideologies that we carry for ourselves. Correct? Can this change over time? Answer is yes and no. Some things change, some things don't change so easily. Okay? But it is changeable. For example, we call that transformation. Throughout our Vedic body of knowledge, you find certain persons who meet great teachers and their lives transform. If it was going in one direction, by meeting them it goes in another direction. Although in another direction we may think that, for example here, let's say someone who's practicing what we call Hinduism can convert to Islam or Christianity or any other way, right? While that is the external facts, the internal values will change. For example, what is one of the biggest trends in America right now when it comes to food? The trend is vegetarianism and veganism. That is a very, very big trend. You want some numbers? Back in 2006, less than 1% of the US population was vegetarian. Hardly anyone thought about the concept of vegan. In 2018, more than 6 or 8% of the US population is vegetarian and vegan. And it's being driven by the big guys. Like say Oprah for some time challenged her audience and followers to become vegetarians. Arnold Schwarzenegger has become a vegan. And his becoming vegan is a very big statement. Leonardo DiCaprio, for example, is a vegan. Anyone follow tennis? Novak Djokovic is vegan. I mean, contrary to one's belief that to be vegan or vegetarian means you'll be this skinny, tired looking, not muscular, you cannot be strong. It's nothing like that. These guys have shown. For example, so these are the values, the beliefs that have changed, and that's relevant to our topic because today's value has something to do with not eating meat, for example. Okay. Now below that, these are our values that drive us. Okay, why we do what we do. So think of this as the what. This is the why. This is the who. Who we are. And this is very deeply ingrained in us. Okay? Now at an external level, we may mix our who here. For example, I am Indian, I am from Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, whatever. We think that this is where it's operating, but actually there is something deeper than that. And when life pushes us, which I'm hoping you've already realized that it pushes us every day, correct? Anyone not feeling challenged in life here? If not, you have my great respects. Okay, we all are being pushed and challenged. Sometimes the challenges are very big, sometimes the challenges are not so big, but there's always a challenge. And when challenges come in our lives, we actually respond from here. Not here, not here. But this, in most cases, is not clear. It's very hazy and vague. Okay? So when we say that human life is meant for self-realization, right? That's what in the very first meeting we, I guess, tried to establish, that we may at the most come up to this level, but human life is meant for us to go here and find out who we actually are. And who we are will then drive our values, which will drive our behavior, ideally. Okay, for example, today we think we are Indians or men or women, right? That's, we think, as our assumption. It's the what we are holding on to. So our values may be driven by it. But we are actually not in this realm. We're somewhere here. Because that changes. Today I'm Indian. In a previous life, don't know. Next one, no clue. Right? So what changes then is not substantial. In order to be able to find out this part, there are certain values to live by to help us move forward. Okay, that's the idea of Bhagavad Gita and why those values. Okay, this is just summary. I'm not teaching anything new. All right. We discussed last week that there is difference between among information, knowledge, and wisdom. Can you give me an example of what or how they might be different? Not example. How are these different?
Information is the one that someone tells us and we have it in us. Knowledge
Information is something someone tells us.
we get from someone else.
Okay.
Knowledge is something we find out, like the end product of an information. Like we process it and get to know what exactly it is. That's knowledge. And wisdom,
Ability
the
to
truth.
analyzing the information.
What to do with the information?
What to do within?
Deep of that meaning. It's a deep sense you are talking about.
In deep sense. In how? Deep how?
Meaningful things.
Meaningful things. Okay? Any other thoughts?
What information we receive, whether it is true or not, to decide that is what wisdom will come from wisdom.
Okay. Yeah, all that is true. Think of it this way. This is how it helps me. You're right on the target, I guess. Information is data. Okay? That data is very objective in knowledge. We may or may not have any interpretation to it. For example, right now the temperature is 58 degrees. That's just information. Right? Then knowledge is to know how that information impacts us and others. Okay? And wisdom is what we have learned from that experience. Okay? So you're right, deeper, but there is our personal learning in it. There is something we have learned about ourselves, about life, by the time it is wisdom. Knowledge, in another way, is knowing what to do. And wisdom is learning when we have done it. Right? For example, how many of you are parents here? Or maybe I should have asked the question, how many of you are married here? Right? So, we know what marriage is. Right? That's knowledge. Maybe information. Anyone has any experience about marriage? Any wisdom from it? Do you get the idea? So it's like that. You have information, knowledge and wisdom. And the Bhagavad Gita does not work with information. It's mostly concerned with knowledge and wisdom. Why? Because information has no value. Only when it touches us, then it becomes knowledge and wisdom. That has value. Right? Like for example, right now football is going on somewhere or someone's playing baseball. There is so much information, statistics about their average run rate, blah this, blah that, strike rate. Does it matter to us? No. It has no relevance in one sense unless you are in it. Right? But when it is about our life and who we are, that's great knowledge and wisdom. Okay, so that's what Bhagavad Gita is interested in. It's not interested in we being observers, it's interested in we being participants. Okay, we talked about liminal space. I hope it's yeah. So this is important. So His Holiness Rompad Swami explained, this is just summary before we get into the next value, something called liminal space. In very simple terms, liminal space means the gap between where we are and where we want to be. Is anyone already there where you want to be? Not yet, right? We want to get there. So the word liminal comes from the root word, apparently in masonry, the area between one room and another, which we call threshold, is called limen. So liminal means space between this area and that area. And in terms of psychology, or in the lexicon of self-actualization, liminal is the gap between when we look at ourselves, what our ideals are, and where we are practicing those ideals. There's a gap. And the idea of going through life is to cover that gap, is to make that gap, make that fit. And the picture of Krishna is, one should not feel that one has to make that journey alone. One has the help of Krishna through the Bhagavad Gita, and he teaches us how we can take his help to cross that gap. Alright? So this gap is not, I'm poor today, I want to be rich, and that's the gap. This is the gap in our character. What values we hold today, how we are living our life today versus how we would like to. Okay? So in the list of, any questions before I continue? Thoughts, comments? Alright, should I continue? This computer doesn't have the diacritics and font, so sorry about that. The second value, the first value which we discussed last week was samadarshana, equal vision. Equal vision means to know that I am a soul. Okay? Atma. And that's also an Atma there, there's an Atma there, there is here, there's Atma everywhere. In the trees, in the birds, in the fish, okay, in the lions and tigers, in plants, insects, etc. So every living being, there is the presence of Atma. And that because we are all Atma, there is a sense of equality. Although there is difference in the form. Just like in this room, there is a difference in form. But there is unity in identity. Okay, now you take this onto a more macroscopic view. So that is called samadarshana. Without that value, one will not be able to find oneself and others and find a common platform to speak with. We are so bogged down by differences. Okay, where are the differences? If you don't mind, I'll go back. Here. Differences may show up here. But when we find identity, there is oneness or equality. I shouldn't say oneness, equality. So the second value that is important and is spoken of in the Bhagavad Gita is ahimsa. Alright? So what does the word ahimsa mean in English? No, it's already here. Non-violence. Ahimsa. Why is this important? Why is it, in your opinion, why is ahimsa an important value to cultivate as one is trying to find and search what the purpose of life is. Why is ahimsa important? First of all, is it important? Yes? You agree? Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it important?
Peace.
Peace?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
For whose peace of mind? Our peace of mind? Okay.
Keep us stable.
To keep us stable? Okay.
To prevent chaos.
How does ahimsa prevent chaos?
Physical.
Physical, it would prevent any physical things to happen. Since
Okay.
physical things lead to chaos.
Let's take a moment and discuss. Is there any utility to violence? Does violence have a place in our society? Meaning, is it important? Only Karthik thinks, yeah? Do you think it's important? Okay, I have 2,
Yeah.
3. So when you say, yeah, you agree? There is a place for violence? So tell me how? What place? When is violence okay?
From the perspective where it stands against, like something that stands against the dharma or something.
When it stands against dharma or when it stands for?
Violence, for violence I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
It holds some place when, let's say, because of some element, it stands against peace of society, mind, or against dharma.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I don't think so it's important.
You don't think it's important? Okay. Why is the case?
So, I mean, we all are sitting here to understand some spirituality, and from the angle of spirituality, we are all trying to make a connection with something which is deciding us, which is soul. And with the violence, we are actually killing people or animals, and in the end, we are killing a soul inside, which is residing inside them. So, if we are capable of doing that, then how are we able to, get a connection with our soul? We already, killing people, we are like, it's inhuman.
Great. I like the idea. Is there any utility for violence? Would you ever take up violence?
No, even I feel sometimes if I am loud also, I feel that is also violence. And I try to practice that I never be like that.
Okay. Will any of you become violent in any situation of life?
Yeah, if someone hits us, beats us up, like we can't just.
If someone hits you,
Yeah.
okay, you will defend or you will.
Yeah, for defense, we need to use violence.
Okay.
I believe violence is not just what we get physical into. Let's say in the first session we learned about mind chatter. We have a lot of chatter going on in our mind. When the two different chatter fights among each other, that is also a kind of violence.
Well, we're extending the definition there, but violence in terms of causing harm, because ahimsa. So himsa has some. So will any of you take up a violent stand or a violent solution? Will you pick it up? Will you do it? When would you do it?
To defend myself, as I said.
To defend yourself. What else? What is higher than defending oneself?
Protect the values.
Protect value. To defend someone else, no?
Yeah, defend everyone.
Because if I defend myself, in one sense, I'm still selfish. Right? So, is there place for violence in our society?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. And who has the responsibility for that? In Bhagavad Gita terms, we say Kshatriyas, or here we say administrators. For example, if tomorrow you find out that none of the police officers are supposed to carry a gun anymore, okay? They're not allowed, because we decided in our Vedic Vision Society class that violence has no place. So all police officers should stop using or carrying guns with them. Not using, carrying guns with them. How would you feel on the street?
We all die.
You all die. Would you feel safe?
No, insecure.
Obviously. Of course, when a police officer, he or she has a gun, of course, forget about their using it wrongly and all the cases that are going on in Chicago and the United. Just for one moment, we're just talking principle. right? If all the soldiers who are at the borders protecting a country, from tomorrow we said no more violence. You cannot have any guns, you cannot protect the borders. If anyone walks through the borders, that's totally cool. How would you feel? Scared, insecure. So is there place for it? Absolutely. Okay, you're walking on the street, you see that someone is being beaten up or someone is being mugged, something, a child is being beaten up by somebody. Will you say, I'm a practitioner of non-violence? I hope you don't. You will stand up for safety, security and protection of someone. I hope so, right? Of course, don't be foolish. If someone has a gun, you don't go. If you have, I'll tell you a joke. A guy showed up at the doors of heaven and knocked on the gates. So apparently, according to Christianity, Saint Peter is supposed to meet you at the gates. So he opens the gate. He says, yes. He said, I want to come in. So Saint Peter says, you cannot enter heaven like that. You must have done something good in life for you to gain entry into heaven. Have you done anything good in life? So guy thinks, he says, yeah, I did. No, please tell me, I want to know. He said, I was walking down the street and I saw a woman walking down also, and suddenly some bikers, Hell's Angels, with their bandanas, piercings everywhere, came on this motorcycle and they were harassing her. So I walked up to them and said, stop it. Oh, Saint Peter got very curious. Oh, please tell me more. So I said, and then when I said stop it, this 350-pound guy who was almost 7 feet tall looked down upon me like this and said, wow, if I don't stop, what are you going to do? And I said to him, I will pull the piercing from your nose. And the guy challenged me, so I reached up and I yanked the thing from his nose. Saint Peter was like, wow, that's amazing. When did this happen? He said, 2 minutes ago. So don't be foolish when you show violence or take a stand. You have to be careful. But non-violence is an important principle for this reason. I'm going to make a statement, you tell me true or false. Most wars in the history of humankind was fought on the basis of religion.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Most wars in the history of humanity were fought on the basis of religion.
No.
So I hear those who say true. You're 50-50. You're trolls or flu. Those who say yes, why?
Everyone wants to increase the territory. So whenever invaders come, they try to invade first and then try to convert them to same religion and then move forward.
Okay, that's our recorded history in about 2,000 to 3,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just adding to him. If the people who said false are having options like food, territory, or more like anything else, or riches or stuff like that, I think it was all based out of religion, and then came the other reasons. If there were two other places that they fought for, but one of them was of the same religion and one of them was of a different religion, I think they would still do the one with the opposite religion first and then try to conquer the other one. So I think it's all based.
So if you go back in history, How old is Christianity or Islam? Roughly? 2000. How old is Christianity?
2018.
About 2018 years. What existed before that? There's no word Hindu anywhere. Okay? There's no word. Have you ever found the word Hindu in any of our Vedic texts? I challenge you to go find it. It's not there.
Sanatan.
Even that's not there. We say Sanatan Dharma or Hindu, but there's no word like that. So when you say, I am Hindu, then the question is, where is it in the book? It's not even there. It's a made up word. Okay? And that's a different topic. I just was curious. So anyway, in human history, there's lot of war and fighting. Fine? And happening today also? Agree? The whole earth, any place on earth, there is some conflagration, something, there's a tension point. Why do two parties clash with each other?
Because they want something different belief.
Different belief system?
They want something.
They want something. What do they want?
Our
Land, power, wealth,
their greediness.
greedy,
Ego clash.
ego. Most people, they fight. You have no wisdom of marriage, so that example may not work. But why do two people fight?
Because they are correct. Because
Very good. They want to prove who's right. They want to prove they are right. And they keep exerting their correctness or rightness on the other. Okay. Why does violence happen? So the first question is, why does violence happen, which we talked about. Here are some reasons. One is, party A wants to prove that they are right, and party B also wants to prove that they are right. And generally we have this idea that if I am right, you are wrong. Generally that's an understanding. So that's one. Second is, I want something that you have, or you want something that I have, and we're not agreeing to share with each other. Whatever it is, land, money, relatives, kingdom, that's land anyway, resources, water. And a third reason is, there is violence or fight because there is a sense of right. It really belongs to me. It's my right. So in the world we find that there are a lot of clashes when there are issues about rights. Right? Women's rights, right to choose whether or not to terminate their pregnancy, right for this, right for that, right for this religious group, right for this minority, right for that sexual orientation person, whatever. There are rights. Correct? So then that leads to a second question. How is violence related to this equal vision, or non-violence related to equal? Is there any connection?
Yes.
So what's the connection?
So if we see everyone with equal vision, we won't fight, or we will make an effort to understand them.
Very good. Very good. Violence happens primarily because of difference. We see differences. Anyone seen the movie Firak? Anyone has Netflix access? Everyone has, right? If you get a chance, I don't know if it's still there or not, you get a chance, please watch Firak. Of course, It does not talk about equal vision per se, but here's the theme of that movie. And I thought it was interesting. I wanted my son to watch it because my son is growing up in America. He has no context of what Hindu-Muslim tension is all about. But that movie, there are very, very close friends from both religions. And they are very, very good friends. And something happens in Gujarat. Some years ago, there was some communal violence, right? Some riots broke out. And it's during that period where their friendship is being tested by their religious convictions. Very nicely done. Some people, although they say that they are friends, but as soon as it has to come to defend their religion, they will abandon their friendship. But there are some persons who don't profess so much about religion, but when the time comes, they will protect their friend even if they are from another religion. Because friendship is more valuable than what religion one comes from. Very, very nicely done. It has other stuff in it, but that's the theme. I really appreciated it because it touched on an important principle, at least for me. Okay. For example, so if we don't have equal vision, then, as you said, our sense of differences increases. But being human beings, we exert a sense of authority on other living beings. As you were saying, we exert that on animals, birds, plants. We kill, butcher, murder. For what? Because chicken 65 or tikka masala is very tasty, is what we think. We take on the right to take someone else's life because it makes a great dinner. That is where this equal vision is lacking, seriously. Okay, this is cut off a little bit, sorry. Let's see if I can read it. The slides, sorry, 1 second. Let's see if I can. Make changes. Okay. Okay, ahimsa, or I'm going to read this for you. Ahimsa or non-violence means to act in a way that causes least harm. Okay? So now I have a question. Would you agree with this definition? Is to act in a way that causes least harm. What does it already assume when I say least harm?
There is it's impossible to avoid.
So do you agree with that definition?
Yes.
Why? Why is it not possible to just cause no harm?
Because when we are walking, we kill so many small insects.
That's while walking. What else?
Sustainability.
Whether we can do it today and then do it again later in life? That's what you mean, sir?
If you want to sustain, we need food, as in, we are also part of animal kingdom.
Yeah, very good. So there is a very important phrase that Narada Muni speaks to Vyasa. It's an important one you will remember, and then we'll discuss a little bit about it. It's called Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. That one living being is dependent on another living being for survival. Many people take that and extend it. Okay? So when it says least harm, so it is described in our Vedic scriptures that when you walk, even unknowingly, you will be stepping on some bug, ants, right? When you light fire, even to cook, when you light fire, you are causing harm to certain bugs. When you sweep the floor, that's third. When you blend something, okay, now we have blenders, but previously you would take the what's called pestle and mortar, okay, there also, etc. When you sweep, when you, all these. So unintentionally, even by breathing, we are killing, unintentionally. Now what to speak of, even without thinking, the occasional mosquito that we kill. We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago that in India, tennis has become a very, very, very household game. Nobody plays it, everyone plugs it. No one plays the game, they all plug it. And in the evening, zap mosquitoes with it. But that one is intentional harm. But sometimes without thinking, out of reflex, we do. So consciously, ahimsa is that you try to minimize, as we say, you minimize your carbon footprint. So you say you minimize your himsa footprint as much as possible. This is very, very important. Why? Because just as we have the right to live, every living being has that right, an equal right to life. They have it. And who are we to not honor it? Okay. Non-violence means avoiding violence. As much as possible, you will avoid violence. At every level. What are the different levels? Physical level, for example. What's the other level? Mental level. So what is violence at the physical level? Slapping, punching, whatever, hurting someone's body physically. Sorry, I didn't mean that. What's a mental level harm or violence?
When you hurt someone.
When you hurt someone's feelings.
When you
Correct.
abuse them, when you try to make them down, when you try to make them feel bad about themselves.
Correct. When you insult someone, when you put them down, when you insult or you hurt them. Heartbreak? Hey, you should give a lecture on this one. Okay. Heartbreak, correct. That's violence, huh? Physical, verbal, and emotional. Although many people may be vegetarians, they may not be causing physical harm, but boy, when their tongue starts moving, it's sharper than a sword, right? And then emotional level. What's an emotional violence? Any idea? Verbal leads to emotional. Making someone feel guilty. Okay, here's a classical Indian family. Actually, Jewish families also. It's being recorded. Should be careful. But we'll poke fun at Indian families. How about that? Okay. Indian family. Most movies have that, and then it's practiced in home also. If you don't marry the girl or boy I want you to, I will give up my life. Right? Or the best guilt trip that a parent, I'm using parent because I'm a parent, none of you is, so I can talk about parents. Parents put their children through free guilt trips. Okay? They sponsor their trips of guilt by saying, oh, you're not doing as I tell you, you don't love me anymore? Oh my gosh, that is an emotional violence, if you will. Okay? And the child has to then prove every time that they have to love their parents, so they will have to do exactly what the mom and dad says. Alright. There's another perspective to all of this from the Bhagavad Gita. You have to answer a yes or no. Such a feeble yes, only 2 people said. Mahendra doesn't want to. Alright. So generally, non-violence is taken to mean not killing or destroying someone's body, physical level, right? But actually, here it says non-violence means not to put others, including oneself, in distress, any kind of distress, which means verbal and emotional are included. But can you give me an example of how we might inflict violence upon our own self? What's the far extreme idea of violence upon oneself?
Suicide.
There you go. Thank you. That's the extreme. What are milder versions of it?
Trying not to be yourself.
Ah?
Trying not to be yourself for the society.
Most people don't even know that trying not to be oneself. They're not even aware. Let's start with, that's subtler. Let's start with more gross levels of harming oneself.
So imposing yourself with all the negative thoughts, or you're not good enough, or like
Self-concept.
I'm useless, I'm horrible, I cannot do it, I'm good for nothing. These are all things my dad said to me, but anyway. Okay, that's what else?
Comparing with others.
Comparing with others. They are like this, I'm not like them. Being critical of oneself. You're still very subtle. I'm dull guy. I'm gross levels. Suicide.
To hurt, or maybe not standing for yourself.
That is when someone else is involved. This is where I am hurting myself. Suicide is that extreme. Take a little less degree. Give me an idea. Yeah, you.
Everybody said that.
No, there are more things, man. How are we harming our body?
Cut your hand.
Cut your hand. Anyone cuts? Oh yeah. In an attempt for suicide or by cutting vegetables? That is not intentional.
Smoking.
There you go. Although that's supposedly fun stuff, drinking and smoking, the amount of physical torture we're inflicting on the body is fathomless. Okay? We may think it's fun. And to some degrees, yeah, it's fun. In America, you will learn that when you have a meeting, then at the end of the meeting, there is something called happy hour. Okay? If you're happy, would you make yourself in a condition where you don't know what you're talking? You don't know where you are? How can that be happy? But it's called happy hour. What does happy hour mean? It's a good way of saying what? Let's go and drink. That's what it means. Right? It's a nice way of saying, let's go and drink. But what it does to your liver, what it does to your GI tract, what smoking does to your lungs. Why? Why hurt yourself like that? But it's fun. It's the in thing, it's fashionable. That's what you're supposed to do. You ask for shots, you keep going and you challenge yourself how many shots you will drink, blah blah blah, and then the more number of shots you drink, the greater hero you are. And then you boast, हमने कितना किया है. But you see the downstream effects. It's crazy. But what is about it? That we see the effects, but when we look at our own self, we think, not going to happen to me. Why? I know when to stop. That's most people's idiocy. I'm sorry to say. We are idiotic in thinking, I know where to stop. That person didn't know. He did it too much. I know where to stop. Huh? That is harm. That is suicide, harming oneself, and then all the list of things on a subtler level that we inflict upon ourselves. And we need to learn to stop doing that as part of being non-violent. All right, next one. This is from a commentary of the Bhagavad Gita. People in general are trapped by ignorance. Okay, there are many phrases here and I need your help making sense of these words and phrases. Okay? So I'm looking for volunteers. People in general are trapped by ignorance. What is ignorance? What does trapped by ignorance mean? You know what they're doing? They're looking for diamonds in the desert.
It's feeling alone.
Feeling alone?
Yeah, trapped by ignorance.
Trapped by ignorance means feeling alone. Any other thoughts? Thank you for sharing that. Huh?
Someone else gets harmed or hurt, like we don't care about it. If someone else is in trouble, we
Okay.
just want ourselves to be safe.
Want ourselves to be safe.
It's like looking more towards the things like money or, just being more successful or like all those kind of stuff, which is materialistic, which is achievable, but it does not mean to give you any peace of mind.
What does ignorance mean? Not knowing. Correct? So what is it that one is not knowing? People don't know something. What is it that they don't know? Huh?
What to do in life?
What to do in life? Hey, excellent. That's right.
What to do with life?
What to do in life? What to do with life?
For life.
For we are ignorant of one important thing. Remember the iceberg example. At the bottom of the iceberg was what? Assumptions of identity. Correct? So we are ignorant of who we are. If I ask you to do this exercise, let's take about 30 seconds, okay? You're going to make a list. Now you can use your phone. Just don't text anyone. You're going to make a list, okay, of write all the words that you can that fits I am and blank. Make a list. For example, I am. I'm going to help you start it. Indian. I am. Man. Human being. Make a list. Let's see what you come up with. Yeah, you can use your phone now, Shreya. Okay, another 10 seconds and then we'll stop. I'm glad you're writing a little bit more. Anyone looking at the news, then you please tell me if Trump is still the president or not. I like your list. All right. Help me. I am. Give me 2 or 3.
I'm a student, I'm a friend, I'm an enemy.
I'm a student, I'm a friend, I'm an enemy. Very good. Someone else.
Son, I'm a brother.
I'm a son, I'm a brother.
I'm Sakit.
I'm Sakit. Okay. Someone else on this side.
I'm a good person.
I'm a good person. You're not a bad person? Sometimes?
I'm a calm person.
I'm a calm person. Very good.
I am absent-minded.
Absent-minded. So you forgot to write. Okay. I'm absent-minded. Anyone in the back?
I'm curious.
I'm curious. Very good.
I did woman, architect, matured.
Woman, architect, mature. Okay. I'm confident. What else? No. Yeah, but you're not allowed. Come on. I'm teasing you, and come on in. I'm hungry. Very good. Me too. Okay, last couple here. I'm sorry, I didn't know your name.
I'm a learner, like
I am?
learner, like always seeking something.
What is that word? I am?
Learner.
Learner. But I'm looking for your name.
Sharvari.
I am?
Sharvari.
Sharvari. So you get all this? I am, all that? Correct? Now let's take for a moment. Any of these that we said, on that list, how many of those are going to change in some time? They won't change at all. I'm confident, I'll always be confident. I'm a student, I'm always going to be a student. Please don't tell your parents that one. I decided, I'm just going to be a student. These will change. But the sense of I does not change. I am, whatever will change. And today I'm curious, tomorrow I may not be curious. Today I'm an architect, tomorrow I may not be one.
No, I can't afford to be. No.
I said may, I didn't say you will, I said may. May. You may be this, you may be that, but the sense of I doesn't change. And that I is what we have to search for in human life. Therefore, you heard the phrase self-realization. You heard the phrase ever? Or is this the first time? You heard it before? You never heard the term self-realization? You have. Okay, that's what I'm asking. Self-realization. So what is that self-realization? It is to find out who I am. And that is that this ignorance is, we are all operating in life thinking we are someone or something that we are not really. It's just temporary phase. And that ignorance is called the material concept of life. Material because what is by definition something material versus spiritual? Physical. Material means that which does not have its own identity on its own. It will change. For example, this one. This is a table. We call it a table because it has a certain shape or form. What is it? Some metal and wood. Correct? Before it became that shape or form, that metal or wood was somewhere in the ground or in a tree. Right? It's just permutation and combination has changed, but it's essentially some atoms. Just organized differently. That is called matter. That's one. Second, matter is that where there's no consciousness. It has no volition. The table cannot decide to leave the room on its own. You can. I hope you don't. We have dinner for you. That is our hook for you. That's why we do it in the end. If we did it before, you'd all be gone. So I'm going to pause here. We'll continue another time. I don't want to. But this is the important lesson. That we exert violence upon others and ourselves because we are ignorant of who we are. And it is Bhagavad Gita's primary job to help us understand who we are. So we will not be violent upon ourselves or others. Any thoughts, comments? I mean, you guys came just now, so sorry that you may have missed a whole bunch. But any other thoughts, comments, objections, criticism? Any violent comments you have for me? No?
Question.
Yes, please.
Okay. So sometimes when you can't show your anger as violence against the person or the thing or any other living thing, then you tend to like break stuff or show it on other objects around you. So my mom always comes up with this, because I break a lot of things. My mom always comes up with this violence against that particular thing. So is that true? I mean, are there violence against things too, like non-living things? Is that still called violence? Break something, because there's a lot of things that went into becoming what that object really is. So,
I mean, violence towards a inanimate object causes no harm to the object, but the more fundamental thing to worry about or think about is, why am I reacting? Okay, that's the more important thing. You break something, you can always replace it. You break someone, you cannot replace them. Not physically breaking, but
What if the thing is an antique piece?
huh?
What if the thing is an antique piece? What if the thing?
I heard your question. I'm just so stunned by it, I don't know the answer. Still, it may be an antique piece, but it's not life. What is more valuable than an antique
Some
piece?
people don't, what do we say, hold their anger towards that if you break that.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's not, so for example, let's say you have a $85,000-$90,000 Tesla, very valuable, and someone who's very dear to you, okay, is in a car, in that car, and they were in a car accident. I hope not, but just theoretically speaking, it was in the car accident. Will you run to find out how the car was, or will you run to find out how the person was? Who thinks they'll go for the car? Be honest. No. You why? You'll go for the car?
That is general perception. I mean,
Yeah.
according to the that's incident, that is general perception.
Correct. That's perception. It depends on who's in the car. That's why I prefaced it with someone that you know and you like. Okay. So unless you messed with the car, you're on yourself. But the guy is, if you analyze the human body, I don't have that slide with me today, but I used to present it previously. If you analyze the human body, it has some amount of water, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, etc. If you add up all those chemicals, right, and you buy them in a store, I think its total dollar value is about $22. So a $22 chemical bag is sitting in an $85,000 car. And when there is an accident, we run for that $22 bag called our friend or relative or someone instead of a $85,000 car, if you are in our right mind. Why is that? Because we are not running after the bag, we are running after the person who is valuable to us. So whether even it's when someone's antique piece breaks and they become angry, right? They're angry at not that the thing broke, but they're angry for two things. One, whoever broke it was negligent. Okay, that's their anger. And second, it's called attachment. They think that that item is as good as my life, when the reality is nothing's happened to their life. But the sense of loss is, this is mine. And when you lose something that is yours, you feel pain. That is called attachment. Okay. So when we break things, nothing happens to the thing per se. But the deeper question is, what is it that is evoking in me that sense of anger or frustration or whatever that expression is, that I have to break something. So whatever that anger is in that moment is very big.
So is it called violence? You want to call it violence? Not
I mean, it's a violent expression, but it's not really violence per se, because this doesn't feel pain.
But we are causing harm to ourselves, right?
Oh, we are causing harm by breaking it. If you get hurt,
The
To ourselves, like,
yeah, that is true. It's violence, although not a conscious way. I'm hurting myself. I'm doing this because I want to hurt myself. It's that it has to be vented out. You'd rather kick a table, or the proverbial dog, as they say. You come home and kick the dog. You heard that saying? No? So get a dog. There's a proverb in English that you bring a dog and you kick the dog. So you had a bad day at work, you come back home and your wife or husband is there, instead of yelling at them, you kick the dog. I mean, that's violence, you get the idea. But the point is, kicking the proverbial dog means you show your frustration somewhere else. Go out and shout loudly if that helps you reveal it, get rid of it.
Sir, recently a startup in India, in Delhi NCR, Gurgaon, they opened a store. I mean, they source refrigerators, old computer monitors and all. And people from IT sector, they generally go in the evening and break something. To remove their frustration. And they charge around 200 rupees per half an hour kind of thing. They started.
It's a nice idea.
I mean, they opened kiosks in some of the IT companies.
Do they allow architects to come and break stuff?
There are so many in the US that you can actually go to.
I don't know what you said, but
You just pay.
I learn something every time. That's great.
It's just like your paintball place. It's very similar to that. You have a lot of them in the US. I've been to one.
locking itself in yoga can also do the same thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's in yoga.
Sure. Somehow if we can learn to vent it in a way that doesn't cause harm to us or anyone else, that's great. Anything else? Okay, we'll stop here. We'll have dinner and we'll see if we can talk a little bit more. I'm here. If you want to talk about what we just discussed on a more one-on-one, I'm here. Otherwise, we'll have dinner. Okay? So, thank you. We will let you know what we're going to do next week and the week after, because I'm traveling, but we're trying to make sure that someone else presents. So please do come. We'll continue this series on the 6 values that the Bhagavad Gita teaches. The first one we did last week was equal vision for all living beings, and second today was non-violence. Okay? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.